the last movie I'm reviewing this year. I did sit down last night and watch the 1985 Steven Spielberg Whoopi Goldberg film before I saw this. And man, yeah, I'll tell ya, I squeaked out a couple of tears at the end. That was pretty good. So now let's talk about this musical remake. The Color Purple. So this new cinematic adaptation of The Color Purple is based off of the Broadway musical. Of course, there was a movie back in 1985 that everyone knows. All of this stemming from Alice Walker's original 1982 novel. So the story begins in the year 1909. We have two sisters, Celie and Nettie. They love each other, but they don't have the best lives. Being young African-American women living in the South with a lot of abusive African-American men, Celie and Nettie are unjustly separated. And so the story follows Celie's life after that, her coming of age in a world that just does not seem to treat her fairly because of not only her race, but her gender as well. And all the while we have some musical numbers because this is in fact a musical. And man, this just goes to show you why I love musicals. They just know how to impact me emotionally like nothing else can. Yeah, I thought this movie was fantastic. Alright, Celie for most of the movie is played by Fantasia Barrino, who actually has played this character on Broadway before, so it's no wonder she's so good here. The character of Celie is just so easy to sympathize with. You feel so bad for her throughout this whole story because she's being mistreated by her abusive husband, Mr., who I'll get to in a second. But yeah, you see these scenes and you're like, God damn, you do not deserve this. And you can see how it's affecting her as a person. I saw this in not just this portrayal, but Whoopi Goldberg's as well. I think I like Whoopi Goldberg's portrayal better. I don't want to make this a contest between this version and the 85 version, because it really shouldn't be like that. They're both adaptations of a novel. So moving on with the characters. Coleman Domingo as Mr., yeah, this guy's an asshole. He is in the 85 version as well, but in this version, dude. You know how in my Rebel Moon Part 1 review, when I was talking about the villain, I was like, how does he sleep at night? Mr. in this movie, I imagine he sleeps well at night, just knowing that he's an asshole. Which, yeah, I guess that does make him even more of a douche than a space Nazi admiral. It's semantics at that point. The point is, Coleman Domingo was really good. But let's talk about Sophia. In the 85 movie, she was played by Oprah Winfrey. In this version, she's played by Danielle Brooks, who you might remember from Peacemaker. She was Adebayo. Yeah, holy shit, who knew she could sing like this? Cause she was awesome in this movie. Also makes sense because she has also played this character on Broadway before. Sophia is, at first anyway, that take no nonsense kind of girl. She doesn't let herself get slapped around, she does the slapping. In fact, she has one of the greatest songs in the movie. I love her attitude and I love the whole character arc that she goes through in the story, same in the 85 version. I loved it there too. It's a great character arc. And then the other scene stealer is of course Taraji P. Henson as Shug Avery. She's a singer that occasionally comes to town and she has that same kind of take no shit attitude and I love her too. Dude, who knew Taraji P. Henson could sing? I didn't. I love the bond that she forms with Celie. That's like one of the highlights of the entire story for me. Because again, in a world where not a lot of people treat Celie with kindness, Shug Avery does, and it kind of blows Celie's mind at first. It's like imagine young Harry Potter growing up with his abusive family, and then Hagrid coming along and suddenly treating him with kindness. He doesn't know how to react at first. Because it's just such a new thing. That's something he's never experienced before. This is kind of like that. That's where my mind goes anyway. Lastly, I do want to talk about Corey Hawkins in this movie. He plays Harpo. And I want to talk about him because I've seen him in a few movies now, and he is really up and coming. This is the second musical movie I've seen him in after In the Heights, and he's still got a great voice. I just want to give all sorts of props to Corey Hawkins, because I really like him as an actor and a singer. He's really good. Now, like I said, The Color Purple is a pretty intense story. It doesn't get super violent or anything, or really heavy with the swearing language, but you do still absolutely feel the drama of the situation. Again, you feel bad for Celie because she does not deserve the situation she's in. You feel the separation anxiety between her and her sister, because they used to be together every day and play all the time, and now her sister's just gone. She's gonna suffer from a bit of withdrawal at first, you know? And her abusive husband isn't helping any. It's tough to watch at times for sure. Yeah, all the feels were definitely there throughout the entire movie. I was hearing sniffles throughout most of the audience. I looked to the woman sitting next to me at a point. I saw that she had a tear streaming down her face. I was like, well, the movie's doing its job right. I didn't personally shed any tears in this version. I did well up though at one point. I was like, God damn it, there it is. It's just great. The writing is fantastic in this movie. For me, it just goes to show that musicals, and I fully believe this, musicals have the power to change lives. There's just something about them. The way that the music and the songs are used as tools to tell the story. That's just the power of music, you know? The universal language. It is that for a reason. Because even without any lyrics or singing, the music alone will convey an emotion that is exactly what it wants you to feel. And yeah, let's talk about this music while we're at it. The songs in this movie are phenomenal. We got some blues, we got some Dixieland. When Suge Avery is singing in the juke joint, I wanted to get up and dance. There's some really fun upbeat dance numbers in this movie. And then of course there are the more slow and emotional ballads. And it's all great. I don't know if I'm gonna get this soundtrack, but it absolutely does work for the atmosphere of the story. Although I will admit, a couple of times I was like, that doesn't sound live. That's probably lip syncing to a studio version, but other times, yeah, it totally had to be live. Yeah, I could kind of tell what was live and what wasn't. Some of it was, some of it wasn't, which is understandable enough, I guess. And I'll say this much for the lip syncing, it's better than that in Wonka. So there is that. In the end, The Color Purple, the 2023 version, is fantastic. I loved it. It moved me emotionally. You love the story. You love the characters. You feel bad for them. All the acting is phenomenal across the board. Yeah, this movie's probably gonna generate some Oscar buzz. I hope so anyway, because I feel it does deserve it. I mean, even the cinematography is great. I usually don't talk about it, but it is noticeably great in this movie. I love how this movie was shot, the lighting, the color tones. It's a beautiful looking movie. It really is. Sometimes the pacing of the scenes felt a bit rushed compared to the 85 version, and the ending did seem to go on for a little too long, but then again, so did the ending in the 85 version, so I don't really sweat it, because the ending ends up being one of the most emotional parts of the whole story. That's when I started welling up. I was like, yep, still good. This movie is awesome. I highly recommend it if you're a fan of musicals. In fact, I highly recommend that you go see this movie right now. And just a side note, for those of you who don't know, the Broadway show did have a revival a few years back, and it had Jennifer Hudson, who in my opinion is one of the best singers today, and Cynthia Erivo, who's gonna be Elphaba in the upcoming Wicked movies. And also, that's when Danielle Brooks was Sophia. Yeah, just that triple threat, I just think that's awesome. So, The Color Purple, the new version, have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? Or have you seen the 1985 film? What are your thoughts on that? Or have you seen the Broadway musical? Have you read the book? Just what are your thoughts on this story as a whole? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!